Today on the Tiger Football Report, we'll review the Tigers game against the Villanova Wildcats. Get ready, fans. Another edition of the Tiger Football Report begins now.
For an athlete, there's nothing scarier than a torn ACL.
Athletes trust us with their care and their careers because we're a recognized leader in sports medicine.
Get back to your active life sooner with MedStar Sports Medicine.
And here we have 1893 from the makers of Pepsi Cola. I'm gonna swirl it. I'm gonna smell it. I'm just gonna take one small sip.
Kinda seemed like more than a sip.
Yeah, let me show you. Refined.
1893, made with cola nut extract and real sugar. Boldly blended colas.
Wise Market's ice cream plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and is locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl and chocolate-covered pretzel. How could you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. If you come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packages of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Hello and welcome to the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Morekas. The Tigers hit the road for their CAA opener with a game against the Villanova Wildcats. The Tigers would fall to the Wildcats by a score of 40-21. Let's take a look at the highlights.
3 receivers bunched to the left, 1 to the right. Ellis gives to Shane again. Shane burls his way in. Touchdown, Towson University Tigers.
We got a really good push by our right side of our offensive line there.
3rd down and 8 for Villanova. Bednarczyk back to throw again. Looking across the middle. Pass caught at the 12, to the 10, to the 5, into the end zone. Touchdown, Taurus Phillips.
Whoa.
On 3rd down and 8. 2 receivers left, 1 man to the right.
And he's a bigger back than White is.
Send a man in motion. Bednarczyk going to shovel pass up the middle to Forbes, and he's in. Touchdown. Fake to Forbes. Bednarczyk wants to throw across the middle. Wide open. Touchdown. Taurus Phillips.
You got a lot of options
down 20
here.
to 14.
Knudsen,
quarterback keeper. No signal.
Oh, that's a touchdown.
Touchdown Tigers. Ellis Knudsen with the quarterback keeper. He gets it, and the Tigers have cut it to 20-13 pending the extra point.
Callahan didn't get a hold on that play.
Knudsen throwing for the end zone. Intercepted. Picked off by Trey Johnston. The game, he's behind the quarterback, Bednarczyk. They look to the sideline to get the play. Play clock at 12. White moves next and gets the handoff. And he spins all the way down into the end zone. Touchdown, Villanova. Gets a snap, drops back, looks, fires across the middle, tipped and intercepted. Picked off by Rob Rowe, and he's running down the sideline on the far side, cuts into the middle of the field, and he may go. Midfield, 40.
Andre might catch him.
30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Villanova. That's a 100-yard interception return. Ellis back to throw again, fires across the middle, touchdown, Sam Gallahan.
Senior running back Darius Victor rushed for 115 yards in the game. And as always now, I'm joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And Coach, obviously a CAA game, they're all very, very important. You always want to get that first win of the year, especially in the first game. double whammy for you. You lose the home opener, the conference opener, and you also have a bye. So 2 weeks to kind of stew on that. What was the feeling in the locker room after the game?
Anger, disappointment, a little bit of frustration. Yeah, that'll sum it up.
It was another game. We've seen it against South Florida. Team would be moving the ball, turn it over. Saw it against St. Francis, and now against Villanova. And I know this has got to be driving you nuts. 9 turnovers in 3 games, and you can't win a lot of football games when you average 3 turnovers a game.
Not only are we turning the ball over that many times, but we're turning the ball over in critical downs, in critical situations. And in some cases, we're handing them free points. And we're now down, we've knocked our average down to about 10 points a game we're giving away. And that's just driving me, it drives us all nuts. And until we take care of the ball better in the red zone, and until we play defense in the first half, we're going to have a hard time winning a football game.
What has that been? What do you see when you look at the first half against St. Francis and the first half against Villanova, and then in the second half in those 2 games, the defense looked like a completely different unit?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they look like there's no calls that are different. That we didn't change scheme in either one of those games. We just played harder. We wanted to play. And it looks right now that I got some vets that are a little comfortable in their own shoes. They've spent a lot of time reading their press clippings and social media, and everybody telling them how great they are, and they don't realize to the second half that they haven't played football for the first 30 minutes. And I guarantee you things are going to change. It's a bye week, and it's a bad taste in our mouth. And by the time we get to Richmond, either things are going to change or that roster's going to change.
Do you plan differently based on how the game went on Saturday as to what you're going to do with this bye week?
Of course. That the bye week alone is to help us get better in one way or another. And it depends on where we are coming out of the bye week. I can pretty much say that, throw a blanket over it, and that's no matter what time we get the bye during the year, that's what it is. And right now we have some critical circumstances that we are not very good at. We can't throw the ball in the red zone, at least not to our own people, not on a regular basis. We don't want to play defense when we first start the game. Those are 2 glaring things, and both of those are going to change this week.
On the positive side, Darius Victor had some moments in the first 2 games, but Saturday he looked like the Darius Victor we've seen for 3 years, 23 carries, 115 yards. Was there a difference just in the offensive line play, or was Darius a little different also?
All of the above. I think there's a little bit better continuity in the offensive front. I think they have a better understanding of that defense, which is because they're older. They've played that defense a couple times, and it's a little bit of an exotic defense. So their comfortability with it was pretty good in the run game. I mean, Villanova historically has been a team that shuts down your run game, period. And they didn't do that against us. We put ourselves in good positions, and part of it's because Darius played as well as he did. It changes the attitude of the offense. He said we put ourselves in good positions, we moved the ball. Statistically, we're almost dead even at the end of the game. The only difference is we're turning the ball over in the red zone, and we just cannot afford to do that.
Villanova, on the other hand, the first 2 games, they only threw the ball 44 times for 175 yards. This week they came out throwing. Did that surprise you guys a little bit?
Not at all. No. This is something we talked about at the end of the Villanova game last year. Talking about how good Zach is, how good he's going to be. We all knew he was going to be much, much better when he got to this year. And it was a building process. This is for him, for them, and I would too if I would have been him. If I threw 2 pick sixes that basically lost the game a year ago, this would be the game that I would be dialed in for sure. And he's been working that way. We knew what we were coming. It wasn't about him. It really wasn't. We got no pressure on the quarterback whatsoever for our defensive front. We just didn't. And if we weren't rushing linebackers, that weren't helping either. When we dropped into pass coverage, we didn't match any routes. We just hoped that our routes got somewhere near us and maybe we could make a play on the ball. You go 20 for 26 in a game, you better be Joe Montana. Zach's pretty good, but he's no Joe Montana.
So now you say that the team's got to get better over the next 10 days, 12 days. You've got Richmond looming in a week. In a way, it might be a good thing you're not going to Richmond this week because they're going to be an angry group of spiders after getting handed their hat by Stony Brook, who will be here at Johnny Unitas Stadium on October the 8th. You look at these first couple of games in the CAA that have taken place, and it looks like it's going to go down to the wire as it does every year.
Of course it is. It's the CAA. There's nobody that's running the table in this league. It's just not happening. There's too many good teams, there's too many good coaches, and there's too many things that can go wrong or right on Saturday. This is Mr. Stat Guy, 2 games in a row where we turn the ball over in the red zone, right? And the other team scores points. That's as freakish as it gets. It happens once a year, once every 3 years, maybe. Twice in 2 games.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, the fumble return 89 yards. This week, the interception return 100 yards.
Hey, look, when's the last time you ever heard of a chaplain getting a 15-yard penalty during a game? I mean, weird things happen. So, you can't say there's an easy stretch of our CAA conference games. There isn't. It really doesn't matter who we play. We just have to be ready to play every week.
Quarterback play this past Saturday. Ellis comes in against St. Francis in the middle of the game, has a tremendous ball game. This week, he's got to spend all week practicing, all week thinking about it. Gordy mentioned this in the booth, that sometimes for a quarterback, it's easier to come into a game when you didn't think you were going to play than it is to spend the whole week knowing that you're going to get the start.
This is true. That's a lot of. You could say the same thing about the 6th man in basketball. There's no pressure on the 6th man. He comes in, he plays well. That's awesome. He comes in, he doesn't play well. That's why you're the 6th man. When you're the backup, you come up in the middle of the game. Nobody expects you to pull this off. But when you're the starter, the weight of the world's on you. And that's it. Remember now, that's his first college start. So while there was a lot of bad stuff in there, and there were things that can be remedied and fixed and grown and learned from, there's some good stuff too. You know what I mean? Like, we went up to one of the best, supposedly one of the better defenses in the country, and certainly in our conference. And they didn't really stop us. We stopped us. We were, 50% on 3rd down against one of the better defenses in the country. Just don't turn the ball over in the red zone.
What can he take, and what will you stress to him, the positives from the game on Saturday?
To basically do what you're taught. One of those picks was thrown to the wrong guy who ran the wrong route in the wrong place, and we still threw it to him, versus the wrong coverage. For the things you get taught, say there's like 4 things, right, per play. It's very rare that an individual gets every single one of them wrong on the exact same play, but that happened. So that's kind of easy to fix. You know, you knock 3 out of 4 down, you're doing better. And so there's no place to go but up in scenarios like that.
All right, Tigers will take on the Richmond Spiders next week. Every week we throw a name out at the coach. This is going to be an easy one, I think.
Okay.
Go back to your first successful quarterback, Grant Enders. Tell us a little bit about Grant.
Well, when you say my first successful quarterback, I don't think of Grant Enders.
As a head coach.
Okay. Oh, there were some successes in there. Brian Potts had a couple nice games. Jeremy Jane, I remember, was in there. Blair Peterson was in there in the early years. Chris Hart, I think, was the quarterback who won a 5 overtime game once. Right?
Yes.
Moments of success. Grant Enders. What do I think of Grant Enders? He's probably one of the most gifted, naturally skilled quarterbacks I've ever had the opportunity to coach. That he could not understand the details of a play, but be able to see it happen versus a defense, and be able to complete the ball the way it was supposed to be completed. He was a little bit of an enigma. He wasn't a Jim Rat type, I'm going to study film guy. He was, I'm going to get it done guy. And the advantage is he had great escapability, great speed. So if he missed it, he just took off running, and he was really good.
I don't know how he was on the field, but off the field he seemed to be a very quiet guy.
Oh, he loves football. The 2 things in the world, he loved football and he loved his team. And those 2 things added with his natural skill set made him one of the better quarterbacks to ever play with.
Absolutely. The Tigers will get a chance to rest this weekend as they enter their bye week. That will do it for us on the Tiger Football Report. Join us next week when head coach Rob Ambrose and I preview the Tigers game against the Richmond Spiders. For Coach Ambrose, I'm Spiro Morekas. Have a great weekend as always. Go Tigers.